I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Friday.
This is the moment your Christmas shopping really goes sideways.
Ha!
Going out anytime after, now is going to be awful.
The sprint to find anything left on the...
yeah, exactly. I think
shelves.
I told you I had a friend of mine that his dad would always go shopping very, very late, like Christmas Eve, and didn't understand why. And he's like, it's just less selection. I can't deal with all the selection. He's like, I'm just going through what's left over. I'm like, sure, that makes your wife happy. Here's what was left over at the store, darling. Here we go. But I did have friends that might have forgotten about some Christmas gifts and done Christmas shopping. Oh, the 7-Eleven. It was great when you get one of those pine-looking Christmas trees that's air freshener for your car. Like, you put a lot of thought into this, didn't you? They're like, shut up. Yeah.
Lots to talk about this hour as the Pope accepting the resignation of Cardinal Dolan, shaking up the U.S. Church. Dolan, one of the most recognized cardinals out there, representing New York City. You probably saw him on Fox a lot. What is behind the resignation, and who is Bishop Ronald Hicks, set to replace Dolan as leader of the nation's second largest Catholic diocese, home to some 2.8 million church members? Is the church getting more woke? We'll talk all about this. And what does this mean for Colorado as well? What would we might see with the cardinal here? Aquila. Could you see some changes coming there as well? Chris Murray, you normally get responses on legal issues from him, but he is a deeply committed Roman Catholic to the point where Chris and I have engaged in many theological debates. So this should be a fun one. Looking forward to having Chris live in studio. Now, though, is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. 40 with cloudy conditions in Denver, expecting a high of 64 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Xcel Energy Colorado President Robert Kenney says tens of thousands of customers will be impacted by power shutoffs today, predicting even faster wind gusts.
75 to 90 miles per hour. The relative humidity is even lower, and so we're expecting that we're going to need to execute another public safety power shutoff.
Even more powerful. Wow. The shutoffs were scheduled to start a couple of hours ago and could impact nearly 70,000 customers in Boulder, Clear Creek, Gilpin, Jefferson, Larimer, and Weld counties. The company said customers may be without power for 3 days. High winds caused 160,000 customers to lose power Wednesday due to unplanned outages from downed lines. Over 14,000 acres are burned due to fires in Yuma County. Tyson Brown, a fourth-generation farmer, born and raised in Yuma.
What we're trying to do is just make a break in the soil so that way the fire doesn't have as much available fuel.
Local farmers and ranchers are being praised for stepping up to help volunteer firefighters with the containment efforts Wednesday night and into Thursday. No serious injuries were reported, thankfully, and authorities believe no homes were lost. Today is the deadline for the administration to release the Epstein files. The Epstein Files Transparency Act was passed by Congress last month to make public the records. Some parts of the files released today may be redacted, of course. Tren de Aragua members have been indicted on charges in Colorado, actually 2 TDA members. The U.S. Attorney's Office announced the indictment of Bryans, Dominique Suarez Villegas, and Giovanni Vicente Mascara Serrano on Thursday. Investigators say the two are leaders in TDA and conspired to commit robbery, extortion, kidnapping, and money laundering. Both these J-Wagons face racketeering, conspiracy, and other charges, though Suarez Villegas is the only one in custody at this time. The man accused of the Brown University mass shooting is also the gunman who killed an MIT professor on Monday. 48-year-old Claudio Neves Valente is a Portuguese national. He was found dead of suicide. Thursday, in a New Hampshire storage unit, DJT suspending the nation's green card lottery after it was used by Valente. He entered the country in 2017 through the lottery immigrant visa program. The program has now been paused. All right, Army veteran Mitch, who contacted Candace Owens weeks ago, was on her show last night. He said he saw Turning Point head of security Brian Harpel, Nevada Congressman Mark Amodei, and Erica Kirk in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, in a meeting the day before the Charlie Kirk assassination with top brass from the military.
I blew it off until there was, some other pictures that came up with other people.
What other people? Other pictures?
If you want me to say, there's a picture of Erica Kirk with a ponytail, and from her past. That person matches who I saw at Fort Huachuca in the lobby the night before, and she was with that man in the lobby, and that man, he was present at that meeting the next morning.
If you had to put it at a percentage that you saw that the girl in the ponytail matches the description of Erica Kirk, what percentage would you put that at?
Those are really rare eyes. That's 95 to 99%.
All right, Jeff, you
All
got
right,
it.
so secret meetings at Fort Huachuca is going to be a new punchline.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so crazy.
This one, I almost drove off the road on this one, man.
Yeah, because you're finally realizing it's full of crap.
He's an eyewitness. I'm just saying.
Here's the thing. Now
just saying.
as we're going to go through with this,
Fort Huachuca,
I'm just going to say,
secret meetings at Fort Huachuca.
And this is going to be difficult for many people in the audience as well to wrap their head around. But in criminal cases, eyewitness testimony is one of the least reliable sources of information.
That is a great point.
We are awful at what we see and recounting exactly
Murray's
what we see.
getting all worked up on this.
Yeah,
I know.
trusting someone as an eyewitness
hear
next
what
to proof
Chris
is not
Murray
good.
has to say.
I actually absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Eyewitnesses are notoriously bad at picking out people they don't already know. If it's somebody they already know, they're pretty good at it. But Bill, Fort Huachuca, I mean, come on.
I know. It's a joke.
Would it have been better if it were Fort Smith?
Yeah, I mean, it would like it would sound like like it just I mean, Fort Huachuca.
The conspiracy to kill
It is
Charlie
south of,
Kirk
it,
at
it
Fort
is south
Huachuca.
of Phoenix. It is south of Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's in the region.
And she just conveniently was taking care of her mother the day that she was assassinated. So are we just agreeing now that Candace is just plowing right through the notion that she was going to stop if Erica told her to stop?
Yeah, completely.
This grift is worth so much to her.
Yeah, that was my question. What do you think that meeting was like, actually? I mean, was she just...
I think Erica is trying to hold on to some semblance of friendship that Charlie may have had with Candace. But look, Candace burns bridges everywhere she goes. At this point, Turning Point's going to be done with her. Daily Wire's done with her. PragerU's done with her. They're just done with this craziness.
Yeah, I don't think she cares about them.
I know. I agree entirely with you on that one, Blake. She does not care at this point.
Yep, she's all independent all the time. All right, we'll have more on that coming up next hour. Overtime in Seattle last night. Seahawks down by 1 and going for 2 against the Rams.
Varner in motion. Darnold throws, caught for the 2 points. Eric Saubert.
And the Seahawks win at 38-37 in OT.
There's a man with a big smile in this studio right now.
Is he a Seahawks fan? Chris is?
Caca!
Really? Wow.
He's from up there.
He probably liked those helmets then, didn't he?
No, the uniforms were an abomination.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit. Those uniforms last night.
We're the uniform czars of the Rocky Mountain region, by the way. So go ahead, Chris.
Yes, we are.
No, the uniforms were an absolute abomination.
So, what did you like the least about them? What was the thing that ticked you off the most?
The fact that they reminded me of Oregon uniforms.
Yes, yes.
That's exactly what I thought. Okay, I got to tell you this.
Yep.
I thought we were doing NFL, and my son was switching to the game. And so I went to the kitchen to clean up some other stuff that was left over after dinner, letting some stuff cool before I had to put it in the fridge because I don't want condensation and the leftovers type of stuff. So I come back out and I looked at that and I'm like, I didn't know college football was on. I'm like, wait, that's the Seahawks. That's exactly what I thought. I thought it was Oregon the first time I saw it.
The only way that you knew that it couldn't be an Oregon uniform is that there was some purple in the helmets, bizarrely.
Yeah.
So that's like the one color Oregon won't put on, but I mean, it was awful.
Although I did like, not for Seahawks, but I did like the color of the helmets. I thought that was very unique. I thought it was creative, but I don't think it fit with Seahawks. If the Broncos came out in it, I still would go, oh, neat color. It might look good in a Hot Wheels car, but not on a Broncos or a Seahawks helmet. It was one of those that I'm like, that's an interesting color, but it doesn't look like it fits on the Seahawks helmet at all.
You know, because I'm a traditionalist, you would think I would hate those things.
Yeah.
And I do for the most part. But that helmet, and because it's Seattle, and it's, you know, you think of rain and moisture and, the Seahawk flying over the ocean or whatever. And it's okay for them to have a watercolor look. It's like watercolors. It's like they've all been splashed with watercolor. I actually don't mind the helmet. The jersey and the pants were horrible. Yeah, I'm right there with you. It looks like Oregon, so I would say no. I like the traditional Seattle uniform from 1979, 76, 77.
Yeah,
how about you, Chris?
No, yeah, sure. You'd love that uniform because that's the uniform the Broncos used to beat them in all the time.
That's right.
Good memories. Good memories. Yes.
Oh,
yes. Warms our hearts here in Broncos country.
Oh, I have a good friend. His dad coached for the Seahawks at one point, and I mean, man, when Elway would go up there, and that was the loudest place in that dome, and he would just fire freaking rockets right across the middle and just crush them, man. That was incredible. You grew up in Seattle, Chris?
I did. That was my first NFL football game was in the Kingdom.
Oh, wow.
In 1990. I want to say it was 92 or 91. Mm-hmm. And I was part of the Elway horseface chant.
Nice.
Absolutely. Man, that was a tough place to win.
Yeah,
a game.
I miss that rivalry, honestly.
Yeah, same here.
I really do miss the rivalry with Seattle. That was a nice one.
Hey, if they play again, that means it's another Super Bowl. So that'd be
There
great.
you go.
That'd be great for everybody.
Exactly.
It would be great for everybody.
Yeah.
We could, they could be in their watercolor uniforms, and we'll be in our orange '80s uniforms. How about that? The light blue helmets. All right, we got Winnipeg in town tonight. NHL, the Avs at 7 o'clock. They'll drop the puck, and the Magic at the Nuggets last night.
Murray, they're daring him to shoot the three, and he says, I will.
Again, amazing offensive execution.
And 126-115 victory for the Nuggets. That's 20 for them. And Jamal Murray at 32, 7 3-pointers. 39 in Parker, 38 in Englewood, 40 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Billy. Chris is coming up. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Temperatures bounce right back up again after a cooler day yesterday. We'll be upper 60s and near 70 today, but windy. It'll be especially windy in the foothills and along and west of I-25, especially north to the Wyoming line. Then temperatures go back down again as a Pacific cold front gets pushed into the area tonight and Saturday. Lows tonight upper 30s, high Saturday cooling to the 50s. Late tonight and Saturday a possible shower or two, then rebounding temperatures back to the 50s to near 60 for Sunday and Monday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
then again, the original, the Nat King Cole version. We've talked this before, that originally this didn't have the strings behind it. And there's I think it's a Rhino compilation that came out in the 90s or 2000s that you can find the original one that's dry. That's really pretty. But he records this 3 times. Once in the 40s, again in the 50s, and again in the 60s. It was that popular. He does, yeah.
Well, it is Christmas season, an important holiday, obviously, for Christians out there, but big changes coming to America with regards to the Catholic Church. Pope Leo replacing New York Cardinal Dolan is a shakeup for the church. Reuters reporting. Joining us to give us some perspective, because I am one of those protesters, a Protestant. I need some help guiding this conversation.
Yeah, Chris, we got to help our cult member friend here.
Is a friend of the program. He's often here on legal analysis, but we're going to get into some spiritual analysis today. Chris Murray, First and 14th Law. Good morning, Mr. Murray.
Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here. Great to be here talking about something that actually matters.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Pope Leo shaking up the Catholic Church here in America. Tell me about this. I've heard that when you reach a certain age, no matter who, as a cardinal, you submit your letter of resignation.
Well, also as a bishop, right?
As a bishop, okay.
Bishop, archbishop, cardinal, right? I mean, and actually what he's submitting his resignation as is in his position as Archbishop of New York. He'll remain a cardinal in the church.
Really? Okay.
But when you're 75, you have to submit a letter to the Pope saying, I'm tendering my resignation. It's up to the Pope whether or not he accepts that. For example, Denver's Archbishop, Samuel Aquila, submitted his letter in September. It has not yet been accepted. So that's why he's still the Archbishop of Denver.
I think the world of him. He's fantastic. I'm glad to see that he's still in that role. Let's talk about why you think Pope Leo would have accepted Dolan's resignation. Is this a political move? What I often hear is that the church kind of bounces back between conservatives under like Benedict versus Francis, who is more progressive, and then they get to pick the cardinals, and then it shakes up the church. Is that happening here?
I really, really don't think so. Cardinal Dolan is... he has been almost, I would say, like becoming kind of an anachronism within the Catholic Church in the sense that everybody has a reason to not like him. By the way, for the record, I think he's been a wonderful prelate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm talking about people on the fringes here. Like the hardcore progressives don't like him. They think that he's too conservative. The hardcore conservative... Vatican II shouldn't have happened. We should be still doing the Mass in Latin all the time. They don't like him. They think that he's too avuncular, too casual with the liturgy. So I really think what this is more about is, hey, look, the New York Archdiocese, it has, like the city of New York, an outsized influence within the American Catholic Church, right? Cardinal Dolan is known for... he says Mass every Sunday at 10:15 in the cathedral and 7 a.m. every weekday when he's in town, which is crazy for a cardinal archbishop to do that. And that's all broadcast on the Catholic channel on Sirius XM, right? So he's got reach beyond his archdiocese. And I think this is Pope Leo saying, hey, I would like to get a new guy in there, and I'd like to give somebody else a chance to have direction. There were a couple fundraising efforts being launched in the Archdiocese of New York, and I think Pope Leo thought, I'd rather have somebody who's actually going to be able to see those through in the seat.
You don't think that there's a rift between Dolan and Leo?
I really don't, because they appear to have gotten along well while Pope Leo was a cardinal and was selecting bishops. Mm-hmm. He often took Dolan's advice on picking bishops in the United States. Not as much as some others, but he did. So now I really don't think there's a rift. And a lot of people might think, geez, well, you're doing this at Christmas. That looks awful. Well, for your Catholic listeners might say, not really, because it's the beginning of the liturgical year in the Catholic Church, really in all of Christianity, that the Advent season marks, which happens right before Christmas, which we're in right now, that marks the start of the new church year. So this is actually a very normal time to be doing something like this.
That's Chris Murray. Typically with First and 14th Law, we're diving in on some Catholic issues today because he's a devout Catholic, and we've had lots of conversations around theology. Let's talk Dolan's 16-year leadership. What do you think of it?
I mean, look, I think Dolan's greatest legacy will be his outs. Like, so, I mean, this guy had a lot of non-Catholics knew him because he had just such sort of the right-sized personality for New York. I think the good side of his legacy will be his gregarious leadership, his successful fundraising to do the much needed and much deferred renovation of St. Patrick's Cathedral. I'm sure any of your listeners who have been to New York have probably seen it. It's one of the most beautiful churches in the United States, especially now. It needed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of work in order to basically get back up to snuff. He was successful in raising that money when a lot of people thought that wasn't popular. I think the downside of his legacy is obviously going to be, like with so many bishops, of his tenure, it's going to be, there's still a bunch of sex abuse cases that have to be resolved in that archdiocese. He's managed to keep the archdiocese out of bankruptcy, which is great. But I think that is going to taint the legacy of almost any churchman who was running a large archdiocese anytime from the late 90s, to just now.
Yeah, and I'm a little intrigued as to why that continues to be an issue. It seems like this has been 20 plus years.
Well,
that you've had payouts and victims and abuse, and clearly, obviously, we all want justice to be done. But is it just the size of the payoff that has dragged this stuff on? So
yeah, I mean, so the Archdiocese of New York is massive, right? And so with both the Archdiocese of New York and also, I would say, broadly speaking, the Catholic Church in the United States, what's happened is that, look, first thing, a bunch of awful stuff actually happened, right? I mean, there was abuse of kids, and sorry, there's no running away from that.
And if you want details on how that happened, Spotlight is an interesting book out of Boston on how it actually happened, and they moved these guys around.
Yeah, right, and how it was that everybody, including for a while the media, law enforcement, assisted in covering up for this because nobody could believe how bad it could possibly be. However, what's beginning to happen now is your listeners, again, who are some of the smartest in Denver, back to the legal stuff, they may have heard of the term of a window bill, right? And what's beginning to happen in a lot of dioceses, because there's a bunch of money that's been paid out for the victims who are still alive, right, and are in any sort of recent memory. Well, once you do those settlements, you got to find some more. And since there's not really many more in the present day, because the church has done actually a really good job of driving this stuff out of the church now, there is a lot more victims potentially in the past who might be dead, right, or might be very elderly by now. And so what states are doing is passing changes to the statutes of limitation to allow you to reach further into the past. Well, those cases are a lot harder to settle. They're a lot harder to litigate because there's, if it's from, say, 50, 60, 70 years ago, the evidence is hard to come by, right? So those cases tend to drag on because it's hard to even value them to figure out what's true and what's not.
That's Chris Murray, First and 14th Law. We're talking the Pope Leo replacing New York Cardinal Dolan. Now, let's talk Ronald Hicks. This is the man that's been selected. I believe he comes out of the Chicago area, or
Joliet, Illinois. Yeah.
Joliet, Illinois area. So, did he know the Pope? Were they colleagues at one point? And tell us about who this guy is and why you think Pope Leo chose him.
Well, so I think Pope Leo chose him because he knows him. So I think Pope Leo knows a lot more about the Archbishop designate Ronald Hicks than most people. Remember what Pope Leo was doing in the Catholic Church before he became the Holy Father. He was the cardinal, archbishop, in charge of helping filter out nominations for bishoprics all over the world. So he was already very much into the selection of church leaders for Pope Francis for about the last year of Pope Francis's papacy. So Ronald Hicks, by all accounts, is an interesting cat. He seems to be a lot like Pope Leo in the sense that he seems to be theologically sound, seems to be very desirous of not rocking the boat with either wing of the church, right? The two wings I sort of talked about, the super theological progressives who have had an outsized influence under Francis, and then the hardcore traditionalists that have a significant influence, especially in the United States. So Ronald Hicks appears to be a bishop who is very into reverent and traditional liturgy, but is also very into outreach to theological progressives and trying to bring them back within the fold, without telling them that, hey, maybe as much as some conservatives would like, hey, cut that crazy crap out.
Yeah. That's Chris Murray. He's from 1st and 14th. So what do you think? Now, the Pope, he's going to have the ability to pick lots of archbishops. Do you think that's the type of archbishop, cardinal leadership in the Catholic Church he's looking for? Theologically sound, as you said, conservative, but not quite looking to push progressives out of the church.
So it seems like it. It is still too early to tell, right?
Okay.
But that would line up with his personality, and this pick for New York seems to be that kind of a bishop, right? Now, as we all know, right, I mean, I've used this analogy into any priests listening, please forgive me, right? But that when somebody becomes a bishop of a place like New York, right, usually you don't move on from that, right? That's going to be your last stop, unless you become the next American pope, right? So when you get a job like that, that's it. It's kind of like going on to the Supreme Court, and psychologically, and sometimes it seems like you learn a lot more about the cleric once they're in a job like that. So we'll see, but it sure seems to be based on Bishop Hicks's leadership in Joliet that he is going to be, if you like a reverent mass, he's your guy. If you want somebody who is going to say, start excommunicating,
Nancy Pelosi,
right? Yeah, exactly. Denying communion to progressive politicians, he's probably not your guy.
Interesting. What do you think of this? Give us a call or text in. We're talking Archbishop Dolan, his resignation being accepted by Pope Leo. This is a shakeup for the second largest diocese in America. What does this mean for the future of the Catholic Church? And when we come back, I'm going to ask Chris Murray about the appeal of the Catholic Church, particularly to young men. What's his analysis there? Why do you think they're being drawn towards it? And what does this mean for the future of the Catholic Church in Colorado, in America? We're going to discuss it all. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show.
You just lost Whamageddon, Jeff. Remember we talked about that?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember?
Whamageddon. Have you heard about Whamageddon?
I have not heard about Whamageddon. All I know is that's the first time I heard your power ballad jingle about waking up with you guys. And I've been like,
it's so much fun. So Whamageddon, since Chris Murray doesn't know, I believe invented by 4 friends in Denmark. And the idea was they thought this song was too overplayed. Year, I believe, is 2005. So they started a game between all of them. Last person to hear this song over the holiday season, it becomes the winner. So now it's become something universally, which makes it really hard to play in radio stations. But technically not a Christmas song. It's only about a breakup and that happens on Christmas. The working title at the time for this was Last Easter. It was about a different holiday, but it didn't work as well in the rhythm. And George Michael was so fastidious on composing this song, he plays every instrument in the song there. Wow. Every single one of them, down to the jingle bells. It's all George Michael.
Oh, there you go.
I always knew I hated that song. I guess I just didn't know why.
Yeah, it took almost 20 plus years to get to number 1 inside of England. It never dropped originally as a single. It was a charity record at the time, and there was another charity record that was dropped the holidays as well, so it was prevented from going to number 1. And then it slowly started rising in and out around Europe, especially in England. But there was kind of a push every Christmas to go out there and to get other songs to be played, so that Last Christmas wouldn't ever get to number 1. I think it finally did in 2021 or 2022. It took decades for it to actually get its number 1 in England.
Well, and for your Protestant listeners, this might be a great segue to the Catholic thing that Jeff wanted to talk about, because it's like there's some songs, right, that just they become popular because they suck.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and so I'm sure they'll be like, when we start talking about the attraction of the Catholic Church, I'm sure some of your Protestant listeners will be like, "That's the Catholic Church."
Oh, yeah. In fact, here's the weird part is that we used to have traditional carols that we would sing during every season. There were spring carols, there were fall carols, but we only kept the winter carols because they were the only ones that the Catholic Church brought inside. And we started to sing, so you could sing the songs at church and you could sing them at parties. That's why Christmas carols have been retained. It's because of Mother Church.
Hey, we're getting requests here for Santa Trump. Can you pull that up again?
Not immediately. But
all right,
yeah,
we'll
I can get
work
to
on
it.
that.
Yeah.
We'll get it back. We had a song played yesterday called Santa Trump, and it has to do with the dividends that he's providing.
I will confess I was listening to your show at the time, and I probably wouldn't have requested it again, but all right.
We'll get to that in a second. All right, Chris Murray, 1st and 14th law. Typically, we're discussing constitutional and election-related issues. Today, though, we're talking Pope Leo. Big shakeup coming to the church here in America as he accepts the resignation of Cardinal Dolan and as Archbishop of New York, and is replacing him with Bishop Ronald Hicks. And last segment, we talked about how in many ways Leo is finding an ally, somebody that represents and is probably closely aligned with the way Pope Leo thinks about the world, to help lead the second largest diocese in America. I want to talk to you now just about the appeal of the Catholic Church, particularly to young men. You're seeing it not just Catholic Church, but Orthodox Church as well. And then lots of baptisms happening on college campuses. Those videos going viral, I think, in part because of Charlie Kirk's influence and bringing these important issues into discussion. But also, I think there's a reaction to wokeness and the idea that you're to blame for all the world's ills, you young white man. By the way, why don't you vote for us to put us into more power? That bizarre disconnect out there. But why all of a sudden a unique appeal for young men to return to Catholic faith, Protestant Orthodox faith?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll speak first to the Catholic Church because, I can. So there was I started hearing, from some friends who were, Catholics, mainly back east, that, geez, we're getting a lot of young 20-something male, non-Christians, right? Because in the Catholic Church, a lot of Catholics will be used to, at Easter, when adults come into the church, it's almost always somebody who was a Protestant, right, who says, hey, I want, and please forgive me, hey, I want the full meal deal. I want the real thing, right? So I'm going to accept the Catholic Church, but those people don't get baptized because the Catholic Church recognizes Protestant baptism as long as it's in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, right, and with water. And so However, now what these folks were telling me was these are people who weren't Christian. They weren't raised in Christian households. They were never baptized. These are adult baptisms in the Catholic Church, which was something you didn't see as much. I have to admit, I was like, Jesus, is that really happening? It's happening here in Denver now.
You're seeing it in your church.
I will say at my own parish, which is Our Lady of Lourdes in St. Louis. It's a combined parish in South Denver and Englewood. Last year at Our Lady of Lourdes, I think there were, I want to say it was 45 or 50 baptisms of adults at Easter. That's a wildly high number. Now, you might say, well, Jesus, a lot more non-Christians out there. You should be baptizing hundreds, right? I'll just say in the Catholic Church, you would typically be talking about at any parish until recently, 3 or 4, right, every Easter of adult baptisms.
Wow.
So
now up to 40 or 50.
It's a real phenomenon. Like, this is happening. And you're seeing it. I've had anecdotally from Protestant friends that they're seeing it in traditionally minded Protestant congregations. And there's a big Orthodox community down in Colorado Springs. These are Eastern Christians. Same thing. They're seeing tons of young, especially males, coming into their church.
So what do you think is happening?
I think it's men, and I can speak for myself here, like why am I Catholic? Like, why am I Christian? Well, because it's all true, right? And men want authentic belief. Men want a reason to orient their life around. And secular society for a while was successful at saying, hey, forget all that hocus pocus stuff, right? That's not real. You know what's real? Money and women, right? And prestige and, sex or drugs or whatever. All of that stuff is failing. All of it. It will not give you meaning in your life. We are not made just to have material things. We are made in the image of God. We are made in the image of our Creator. And if you don't have a relationship with Him, eventually you start noticing it. And it's a lot easier to do something about that when you're young, especially when you see the institutions of the secular society sort of beclowning themselves one after another. And I think it's gotten worse than beclowning. Now you see stuff like what happened to Charlie Kirk back in September. You see this resort to violence by many, mostly on the political left, or occasionally on the political right, you have to admit it, right? And you say, what the heck is going on? Like, I want to find something solid that's been around longer than me. And I think that has led a lot of young men to say, you know what, I'm going to do what my grandparents and great-grandparents did and submit to the Church of Jesus Christ.
That's Chris Murray, 1st and 14th Law. We're talking changes happening within the Catholic Church, but also why young men seem to be drawn towards that. I also think, in part, you're exactly right? Because we know that Christ is the truth. We're made in the image of God. What was once referred to as the God-shaped void that exists in our heart that nothing else is going to fill but God. And so, for instance, Christ at the well, I'm going to give you water that fulfills you forever, as opposed to everything else that's out there. I also think, too, I've found bizarre what it must be like, because I see it in the eyes of my sons, to be born in 2010 and to be blamed for all of history's wrongs, right? like what's the appeal of that?
No, it's like because it's Christmas, right? Your listeners will probably know National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, one of the many fantastic bon mots from Cousin Eddie, like, hey, Clark, your company the one that kill all those people down in India, right? And the response is like, oh, no, hey, we missed out on that one, Eddie, right? Well, that's the way young people have to feel, like young white guys have to feel today. Hey, yeah, you guys are the ones who enslaved all those people. Oh, man, we missed out on that one.
Yeah. Right. Like, and then to think that that's somehow going to be appealing to walk into that world, that framework where you're the reason for all the problems. And so I think millennials were initially ones that were willing to grovel and go, well, golly, maybe if I can apologize enough, they'll like me. And
well, by the way, most nice people, most nice kids, if you tell them they've done something wrong and they love you, right, or they trust you, they're going to want to apologize and make it right. They're going to believe you. And our society abused that position for well on 2 decades now. And I think, who are the people who are going back to church? The young males are in their 20s. It's the product of those 2 decades. They've gotten to adulthood and realized, geez, some of these messages I've been force-fed here, they're fake, right? They're not real, and they're actually being used to bizarrely dispossess me of sort of, what would have been my inheritance. Well, and they're saying, I think part of what would have been my inheritance is Christian faith. I'm taking it back.
And Chris Murray, First and 14th Law. When we come back, I'm going to ask him what this means for family formation, particularly as it relates to young women. So if men are coming back to church, young women are not, what does that mean for the future of this country? We'll get to this and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
dressed in red, white, and blue, making promises bigger than the North Pole view. He's got a list, it's tremendous, they say. Best list ever made, believe me, okay. He says prices are dropping, jobs everywhere, factories humming, flags in the air. Santa Trump is coming to town. Gas is so cheap you won't believe the sound. Prices down, jobs all around. Santa Trump is coming to town.
See, we'll play requests. I've got another request we're going to play later in the show as well.
Billy takes requests at the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is fun.
Chris Murray's in studio. We're having a ball on this Friday as we're talking the Catholic Church.
I'm sorry. It's
so good.
It has no business being as good as it is.
Yes, no business at all.
It's actually a really good song.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Pope Leo replacing New York's Cardinal Dolan, shaking up the Catholic Church. We've been diving into all that this hour, but I want to get to this point. Interesting, unique thing happening. Boys, men, come back to the church excited. Ladies, on the other hand, going, no, I'm going to be a boss now. I'm not interested in going to church. And so you're having a division taking place. What does that mean for the future of family development in America?
Well, I mean, I think in the immediate term, there's been a lot smarter people than me who've talked about this. That's obviously not good, right? Because there's a window to form a family. And if you don't do it, your prospects just get lower. And that's especially true for women. I actually worry more about those young women who are continuing to buy the lie, and then it eats up their 20s and their early 30s, and then maybe they want to come back, right? But it's like, what are they coming back to? I worry less about the young men, at least for now, because the family formation window for men, living proof here, is a little bit longer. And
if you're John Hickenlooper, it's really long. You had one at 70.
Well, I mean, that's I'm going to resist. But that was good bait. But I'll say, I think that if this sticks, right? Because by the way, going to church, that's the easy part. Okay, falling in love with Jesus Christ, that takes a lifetime of work, right? Eventually, it does become very natural and very easy, right? But you have to work on yourself, right? You have to let him work on you, right? Which requires you cooperating with him. And I think if it sticks, young women will be attracted to those men. And I think those men the men who are coming back to church will disproportionately be successful at forming families if their faith is genuine. That's not like, oh, hey, believe in Jesus and you'll have a family. That's not how it works. And marriage is not an idol. It's not. You shouldn't be going to church saying, oh boy, maybe I'll meet a girl there. No. You're going to meet the creator of the universe there. You're going to meet the living God there. That's why you go to church.
But they're serving wine. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. I'm just teasing. When you said I'm not meeting a girl there, I'm sorry. This is why I got kicked out in the hall during religion class.
It's the blood of Christ, that. Bill.
Either way.
We've got about a minute left.
Yeah.
It's holiday season, Christmas and Christianity front and center during the season. What's your advice to young men and women out there, or anybody exploring the Christian faith for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I just say, look, these are interesting times we live in. For my own view is that God is always trying to get your attention. Sometimes he's a little bit more over to the top than others. I would say if you feel like what the heck is going on, if you feel like God's trying to get your attention, if you feel at all a pull, indulge it. Go to church this Christmas. Obviously, I would prefer you go to a Catholic church. I have to say that, right? But any Christian church, any Bible-believing church, go for a Christmas service. Just see. Try praying for a second, right? Even if you haven't talked to God for a long time, the great thing about him is, unlike the bad guy, he will not force himself on you. He will listen if you talk to him, right? Knock and the door shall be opened. Like, ask, right, and it shall be given to you. That's what that scripture is talking about is prayer. It's talking about the Holy Spirit. So try it.
Great advice. My salvific prayer, like where everything changed in my entire life. The Holy Spirit came in. I could feel it. And then I had love and joy and peace in ways I had never imagined before. Started with this prayer. God, I'm tired of partying without you. I think I want to try partying with you.
And what
that was it. That was it.
What better time than Christmas to do that?
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. Chris Murray, so appreciate your time. Thank you very much. A very Merry Christmas to you and the entire beautiful Murray family.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Wonderful. Are you guys looking forward to the fun? You still got young kids coming down the stairs, all the Christmas stuff?
Oh, no. I mean, I can't wait for the screams of joy to turn into the screams of terror as they fight over things.
He took my...
It's the magic of the season.
Chris Murray, first and 14th Law. Always a blessing to have you, and thank you, brother. We'll continue. Gabe Evans is up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, and we're News Talk 710 KNUS.